Beloved in the Seventh Adventist Church, beloved in the Seventh Adventist Church, this is a very urgent message, a very urgent message called the Seal of God. The Seal of God. Now, here in this book called Testimony to the Church, Volume 5, Testimony to the Church, Volume 5, there's a wonderful chapter called The Seal of God. Listen to what it says. It says, "He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his strong weapon in his hand. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's ink on by his side. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, to the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark on the foreheads of the men that sign that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others who said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house." Jesus is about to leave the mercy seat of the heavenly sanctuary, beloved, she says in this writing, to put on garments of vengeance and pour out his wrath and judgments upon those who have not responded to the light of God has given them. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. And instead of being softened by patience and long forbearance that the Lord has exercised toward them, those who fear God and love not the truth strengthen their hearts in their evil course. Look here what page 211 states in the same chapter. It states, "Here we see the church, the Lord's sanctuary, was the first for the stroke of the wrath of God. The ancient men, those to whom God had given great light, who had stood as a guardian to the spiritual interests of the people, and betrayed their trust. They had taken the position that we need not look for miracles and the marked manifestation of God's power as in former days. Times have changed. These words strengthen their unbelief, and they say, The Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. He is too merciful to visit his people in judgment. Thus peace and safety is a cry from men who will never again lift up the voice like a trumpet to show God's people their transgressions and the house of Jacob their sins. These dumb dogs that will not bark are the ones who feel the just vengeance of an offended God. Men, maidens, and little children perish together. While others try to throw a cloak over the existing evil and excuse the great wickedness, page 210, everywhere prevalent, those who have a zeal for God's honor and love for souls will not hold their peace to obtain favor of any. Now, beloved in the Adventist Church, all these things coming into the Adventist Church today: Sunday Surge, woman's ordination, ecumenicalism, new theology, dancing in church, jewelry, eating meat, movie watching, competitive sports. All these things are the abominations that are coming into the church. Weeping for 10 moves, the Christmas tree, Christmas. All these things must be sighed and cried against. The seal of God will never be placed upon the impure man and woman. It will never be placed upon the man or woman that has false hands or impure hearts or impure hands, or false hearts or deceitful hearts. A sexually immoral man. Men that covet the neighbor's wife will never be placed upon those men at all. Now look here what this book here called Testimonies to Ministers and Gospel Workers, page 445 states about the matter of the seal of God. Testimonies to Ministers and Gospel Workers, page 445 has a very powerful statement about the seal of God. It states, "The sealing of the servants of God is the same that was shown to Ezekiel in vision. John also had been witness to this most solemn revelation. He saw the sea and the waves roaring and men's hearts failing them for fear. He beheld the He beheld the earth move and the mountains carried into the midst of the sea, which is literally taking place. The water thereof roaring and troubled, and the mountains shaking with the swelling thereof. He was shown plagues, pestilence, famine, and death, performing their terrible mission. Now, beloved in the Adventist Church, when the seal of God happens, it's going to happen over the Sabbath of truth. It's going to happen over victory over sin. When God's 144,000, we're going to have victory over all type of sin and keep the Sabbath holy, sealing the law amongst my disciples, and Sabbath seals the law amongst his disciples. That is when they have the seal of God and they're protected from the 7 last plagues found in Revelation chapter 15 and 16. What are the 7 last plagues? Bloody water, boils, blisters, sun scorching, fervent heat, darkness over the sea, the beast of the papacy. All those are the 7 last plagues. The plague of 7 Adventist ministers falling, dropping dead because of the apostasy of women's ordination, ecumenicalism, and new theology and Sunday surge. All these things are the plagues that God's people avoid in these last days by keeping the true testimony. In March, April, that's when the closed ratio for the average church happens, and that's when that plague happens and the ministers start dropping dead because of that apostasy, beloved, in the Adventist church. We need to be faithful to God in these last days and true, and not be lost because we want to please man. Now look right here at page 212 of Testimonies to Church, Volume 5, section called The Seal of God. It's actually not 212. It's page 216. It says, now is the time to prepare. The seal of God, it says, now is the time to prepare. The seal of God will never be placed upon the forehead of an impure man or woman. It will never be placed upon the forehead of the ambitious, world-loving man or woman. It will never be placed upon the forehead of a man or woman with false tongues and deceitful hearts. All who receive the seal must be without spot before God, candidates for heaven. God, go forward, my brethren and sisters. I can only write briefly upon these points at this time, merely calling your attention to the necessity of the preparation. Search the scriptures for yourselves so you may understand the fearful solemnity of the present hour. Now, beloved in the Adventist Church, this is a very solemn message, because the seal of God is not going to be placed upon a pure man or woman, sexually immoral man or woman. It's not going to be placed upon a man business or worldly honor, a man who's trying to get picked up by a conference because he's trying to compromise, or a man who's trying to become a very wealthy, very rich because he's trying to compromise truth and do things that don't please God. He can become wealthy and powerful. It's only be placed upon a man who has a clean heart, a pure mind, and he's not deceitful, and he's not world-loving, and he's not sexually immoral, and he's finishing the work through publishing ministry, wild work ministry, medical missionary work, and overcoming sin. That's who the seal of God has been placed upon, and who keeps the Sabbath in these last days. Beloved in the Adventist Church, we must be ready for these last days. We must be ready to give the straight testimony and receive the seal of God, beloved. Be faithful to God. Maranatha.